Hi friends, my name is Nick and today we're going to be doing another unboxing from Planthaven Toronto. This is not our first unboxing with them, so if you haven't seen any of our past unboxings, be sure to go check them out after you watch this video to see some of the other plants that they have to offer. If you do go ahead and shop on planthaventoronto.com, you can use code NICK2023 to save 15% on your purchase, and using that code will also earn me some commission, so I appreciate that. As the name of the store suggests, they are located in Toronto, Canada, so if you yourself are located in Canada, this is an excellent place to order from online. Or if you're in the United States like I am, also an excellent place to order from online if you're looking for a slightly different selection than from what you're going to find at a lot of the stores that we have here in the United States. They do ship constantly in Canada, but they only ship to the United States every 2 weeks, so if you do place an order and you are located here in the USA, just something to keep in mind. It might take a week or two before your order does get out. James and Autumn, who own Planthaven Toronto, are extremely hard workers, and they actually travel down to Buffalo every 2 weeks to ship out all their United States orders and take care of all that phytosanitary certification and stuff so that you don't have to worry about it. They do a really, really good job. But let's go ahead and get inside this box. I'm always thrilled to see what plants they send. I think some of my favorite plants I've gotten recently have been from Planthaven Toronto, so probably gonna add a couple new favorites today. And it looks like we have a decent amount of plants in here. Let's count real quick. All right, we have 7 plants to open today. There's a little flyer right here that just gives you some tips on what to do when you open your plants up and also talks about their membership rewards program. So definitely consider joining that if you do order from Planthaven Toronto. Okay, where do we begin? I can already see the name of this one, so let's open this one up first. I can see that it is a Hoya. If you've seen any of these past unboxings, you've probably seen a lot of Hoyas. They do have a lot of Hoyas to offer on their website, so if you are a Hoya lover, a really great place to check out. The packing paper is rolled up quite nicely and securely, and there is some fluff inside keeping our plants safe. And here we go. So I do not know how to pronounce this. It is a, oh gosh, it was just right here, I lost it. I feel like in the past, people would always say that I know how to pronounce everything, but you just say it confidently and people will believe that you're saying anything correctly, but I do not know if I'm pronouncing really like 90% of plant names correctly. This is a Hoya heuschkeliana, a Variegata. This is a little trellis thing is cute. It's a little piece of wire. I think I'm being a little nice calling it a trellis, but it's really adorable in here. There's a little bit of wet paper towel just covering up the soil to keep the soil moist. Oh, it's sphagnum moss. Oh, I kind of prefer that when it comes to my Hoyas lately. I've been really enjoying growing my Hoyas in sphagnum moss. You can absolutely transfer them over to soil or semi-hydro, whatever way that you grow your Hoyas best in your home. This is an adorable little leaved Hoya. I've actually never seen this one in person. I've only seen this one on Instagram before. And now that I see it in person, I get it. I get it. It's really adorable. The leaves themselves are kind of giving me more like, they seem like half and half, like a Hoya meets a Dischidia, just in kind of the shape, the texture, and the way that they're kind of curled back, which I'm a really big fan of. I love my Dischidias and I love my Hoyas, as you probably know. And the variegation on this one is really nice. It's giving similar to the Hoya carnosa Crimson Princess, the one with the creamy variegation on the inside of the leaves, but just the different smaller shaped leaves are just kind of really delightful, I will admit. And I'm happy to report I have a couple of open spaces here in my home that some of these plants are going to fit in perfectly. Usually it's like running around trying to find where these plants are going to fit here in my home. I'm usually pretty well stocked in the plant department, but I actually have a couple spaces here in my home, so I'm really excited to find these some new spots. Ooh, this looks like it's another Hoya. I have not heard of this one before. It looks like a little small, dainty-leaved little Hoya. Oh my God, that is so adorable. I don't know what it reminds me of. There are some like really small dainty-leaved Hoyas, but this is like, I don't know. It's very, very interesting. I'm having trouble comprehending what I'm looking at right now because it just doesn't really look like a Hoya, but it is a Hoya. I can tell from every single attribute about this plant. It just doesn't look like the same way that the last Hoya that we just talked about, I said had a lot of like similar attributes to like the Hoya Crimson Princess. I see zero resemblance to any other Hoya. This is giving me more like a columnia or like a goldfish plant, a Nemathanthus, especially in the way that this is holding itself up. Maybe a Hoya Syngonium, if you're familiar with that. Maybe this is like a really small leaved version of Syngonium or the bush Hoya, the way that it's kind of just holding itself upright. I love it. I think this looks stellar. I think this would really complement some orchids well from the way that this foliage look. It does have a very, maybe like the dendrobium orchid, it's kind of giving that same vibe. Or if you had this mounted on a piece of orchid bark or growing inside like a Vanda basket, I think this Hoya would look so amazing. I mean, it looks fantastic inside this white plastic nursery pot, so I think it's going to look fantastic in whatever, but just the look of the leaves are just kind of giving me some inspiration on the plenty of different ways that you can go about displaying this certain plant and how you can really just take it to the next level. Also a very generous specimen here. There's at least 5 cuttings in this pot. I can't tell if some of these smaller growths are rooted cuttings of themselves or if they're branching off some of these larger plants here in the pot. Regardless, it is full as hell and it looks so good. I hate playing favorites, but I kind of like that one a little bit. I love them both. This is, I'm just gonna stop because I love them both. You're supposed to love your children equally. I don't know if all of you actually do. But I definitely play favorites when it comes to my plants. I'm not telling your kids anything. The name on this one looks familiar. I'm not sure if I've seen this one before in person or on Instagram. Oh my goodness. Wait, that's so cute. Sorry, that was a really anticlimactic opening. This is a Dischidia hirsuta. I've definitely never grown this one in my own... I have never grown this one in person before. I don't think I've ever even seen it in person. It is really something else with these fuzzy leaves. It's kind of reminding me of that ficus villosa. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. As always, the like fuzzy leaved ficus that I feel like has been gaining like a little bit of popularity. It kind of looks similar to the ficus repens, the creeping fig plant. But this also gives kind of like Dischidia ovata meets Dischidia rucifolia, like a couple of those Dischidias, just kind of combining those traits that some of those have, but just that fuzziness, reminding me of that ficus, just really takes it to the next level. I'm a huge fan of Dischidias, but there aren't that many to choose from, especially compared to Hoyas, where there's hundreds of varieties of Hoyas on the market, and there's constantly new ones appearing every week, and you go into plant stores and there's constantly new varieties of Hoyas, which is very exciting, but it's just not the same with Dischidias. And they're so lovely, and they're probably just, you know, not as popular as Hoyas. It's okay, but they're in the same family as Hoyas. They're both Asclepiads, so I kind of have a soft spot for the Dischidias as well. I love that this is in sphagnum moss already because I actually grow all of my Dischidias in sphagnum moss or semi-hydro. That's where I find the best success. I do not like growing my Dischidias in soil. I have 1 or maybe 2 that are in soil, and they do not grow nearly as well as the ones that I have growing in other potting mediums. So if you've struggled with Dischidias in the past, maybe try them out in sphagnum moss yourself or semi-hydro, something other than soil. The leaves are so dainty on this. This is really adorable. I think I'm probably going to put this in like a greenhouse cabinet or maybe put it inside a glass closure or something to keep the humidity up at first. Just with the fuzziness and like thinner leaves, they're still succulent. They feel succulent and thick, but they definitely look and appear much thinner than a lot of the other Dischidias I have in my home. So for the time being, while it's acclimating to my home, I'm probably gonna give it some extra humidity just to play it safe. Still starting off strong with all these plants. I mean, I wouldn't expect Planthaven Toronto to send me anything less than stellar. Let's go for one of the larger ones. Okay, I've definitely heard of this one before, but I have never tried it in my home. I don't even think I've ever seen them in person, so let's see. But every time I've seen, getting ahead of myself. This is a variegated plant. I'm seeing the non-variegated version of this, and it looks incredible, like picture perfect, like something out of a catalog. So I'm excited to see what the variegated version is going to look like, especially since a lot of the plants, if you watched our past unboxings, the variegated plants from Planthaven Toronto are pretty amazing. Alrighty, let's pull this cloud off. Oh my goodness. That is beautiful. So this is an Alocasia frydek, Variegata. The only variegated alocasia I kind of see like regularly nowadays is just like the standard like elephant ear, forget the name of it off the top of my head, the odora perhaps. The variegation on this one is looking a little bit more pronounced than what I'm normally seeing on those other ones. So that is, oh my gosh, look at that leaf right there in particular. That is just a work of art. It's like a Matisse painting. I actually don't really grow many alocasias in my home. I think I only have a silver dragon alocasia that I grow. It actually has a little baby coming up, which makes me feel a lot better about my skills on growing these plants because I know that they're known for being finicky plants. I think they're more so known as pest magnets than being difficult, and I think that's most people's downfall with these. So I will probably go ahead and sprinkle some houseplant systemic granules into this. I know it's not available in Canada. I'm sorry, I don't have something off the top of my head that's a good replacement for that if you are located in Canada. But in the United States, it's a great way to keep your plants pest-free and prevent pests from entering them, specifically when you bring your plants home and you're doing some repotting. But this one is in soil, so I can just go ahead and mix some of those granules in just to keep it safe. Just because I do have some thrips in my home on some plants already just hiding around, and I want this plant to stay looking as perfect as possible. So I think I'm gonna do exactly that, give some houseplant systemics. Once it's dry, I'll go ahead and give it a good watering so the plant can absorb those systemics, and I'm going to put this in one of my greenhouse cabinets. I think that'll suit it the best. In fact, I've been really needing some plants to put in my greenhouse cabinet, so this is really coming in clutch right now. And we got a new leaf coming in. I didn't even notice. Beautiful new leaf coming in. Okay, this looks like, I've heard of this genus, very familiar with this genus, but I'm not familiar with this species, so we might have something cool in here. It might quite literally be cool from the color, because this is called a Scindapsus hederaceus blue. It's kind of giving me, from the back, I haven't looked at the front yet, it's kind of giving me like Philodendron hastatum, the blue version, combined with the Epipremnum amplissima. Have you guys been seeing that? The new, like, longer, strappier leaf. Actually kind of gives me like a mini version of, I think there is a mini version of it actually, but the Philodendron burl marks, if you're familiar with that as well. Gosh, so many different plants I'm talking about right now. Anyway, I can see a resemblance of a lot of different aroids in this particular aroid right here, which is always exciting. But like I said, I haven't heard of this variety before, so it's always exciting to have a new variety of something that you grow well in your home. Scindapsus pictus is an extremely easy plant to grow, so that might as well just be the case for Scindapsus hederaceus. Don't quote me on that because I have no idea how to care for this plant, but if it's, like I said, anything like a Scindapsus, it should be smooth sailing. It also kind of reminds me of like the Scindapsus trubii, like both the dark form and the moonlight. I've been loving seeing that there's more Scindapsus on the market. At first it was just really the pictus variety on the market, and then the trubii entered the scene, with the moonlight really being the most prevalent one, the dark form kind of being a little bit more elusive. I tried growing that one once and I love that plant. We love a dark looking plant, but I don't have it anymore, so I'm assuming I killed it. Scindapsus are shingling plants typically in the way that they grow in nature, the way they climb. If they climb up like a cliff or a tree, their leaves will kind of grow flat against it, at least for the Scindapsus pictus and the trubii. So once again, don't quote me on that. It might be different for this. But the way that these roots are coming out all fuzzy and stuff, it really looks like this is looking for something to grab onto. So maybe I would consider making room on one of my trellises for this, or giving it a moss pole, or maybe I'll just say screw it, I'm just gonna let you trail and you're going to do what I say. But in any situation, it'll look fabulous. But it really does look like it wants to climb. This one right here, it's really trying to make some moves. All right, we got 2 more plants left. This one, I will tell you beforehand, is another Dischidia, which, as I was mentioning earlier, I'm always excited to see new Dischidia varieties because they are few and far between compared to Hoya varieties. They're a close relative. Oh my goodness. Oh, fluff got stuck there. This is awesome. This is called a Dischidia species Philippines. I grow a Dischidia called Dischidia acuminata, which looks very, very similar to this one. It's got much thicker leaves. They're like bulbously thick, and it grows in a much clumpier manner. This is still growing very, very clumpy. I love my Dischidia acuminata, so I'm already a huge fan of this. The leaves on this one are so much thinner, though. They have like literally the same exact leaf shape, but the leaves themselves are like 20% the thickness of the Dischidia acuminata. I grow my other one that I'm raving about on a little mount, and I think it looks so cute the way it's just like a little clump of these fun looking leaves. They kind of give like the Hoya Weyetii kind of vibe, or the Kentiana. Now I'm just gonna have to decide if I wanna grow this one on a mount or in a pot to make it look kind of different than the other one. This is definitely a vining one. I can see there's like vines coming off, so it's got a completely different growth structure than the clumping Dischidia I am going on and on and on about. But I'm lacking the adjectives to explain how I feel about this plant because it's perfect. Or maybe it would look really good in like one of my little wall pockets. I have those like ceramic wall pockets, and I think I have one or two of them still available. That would look really cute, one of those just kind of coming out, doing its thing. And we got one last plant to open today. This one looks like it's a doozy. Well, it's probably pretty small from the look of this, but the plant itself is a pretty popular houseplant. Alrighty, and let's remove that fluff. Oh my goodness, it's a Monstera Thai Constellation. The plant that Costa Farms never gave you that they promised. Are we still talking about that? No? Okay. I've never actually grown a Thai Constellation Monstera. It looks like this one got tossed around a little bit in the box. Not a big deal. They're plants. They are strong. They will live. Do not worry. Easy does it. Just nestle it back into place. Good as new. We got 3 little leaves on this guy. It's gonna take some time before this is going to grow into a large, luscious, fenestrated leaf Monstera, but the plant it's a start when we have the plant in our possession. Monsteras require some bright light to grow their fullest potential. They need some direct light, like a small lick of direct light throughout the day, like say near an east-facing or west-facing window. If you were to put one in a south-facing window, it would probably burn. It might acclimate over time, but these are much slower growing than the standard Monstera deliciosa. This is going to put off like half the amount of leaves a year, and you don't want them to burn. So I would avoid a south-facing window. I would keep this like east-west or grow light situation. Maybe I'm gonna put this one in my greenhouse cabinet as well, right underneath a grow light. And I'll probably see some really good success with this. I'm really excited to watch this grow. It's going to be a joy to watch this turn into this baby plant into eventually a couple years down the line, a large leaf plant. It's probably not going to get its first fenestrations until next summer if I'm growing this under the right conditions. So patience is a must, but I am very patient, so that is no problem for me. But we got some really excellent houseplants today. I don't think I can pick a favorite. I can't pick a least favorite either. They're all really beautiful plants. And I'm excited to watch each and every one of these grow. And I think I actually have the perfect spaces for all of these, believe it or not. Now that these plants are out of the box, we are going to let them sit somewhere in my home that is well lit and away from any of those plants that might have some pests hiding on them. And in another week or so, we're gonna go ahead and place them in the spots where they're going to probably be living forever, or as long as they're alive or living here in my home. And then I'm gonna wait another week or so beyond that before I go ahead and repot the plants. I recommend doing your repotting when your plant's soil is on the drier side. If it's wet, that can cause some problems pretty quickly after the fact, unless it's like a rescue situation. Totally been there, I completely understand, but if your plant is perfectly healthy, please wait until it is almost completely dry before you go ahead and repot. I'm looking forward to picking out some really nice planters for these plants to complement them the best that I possibly can. But most of these plants just already look fantastic enough. I think they could go in anything. Like I said, they look beautiful in their plastic nursery planters, so they'll look perfectly fine in literally anything. Thank you again to Planthaven Toronto for sending me these plants to open today. It is always a joy opening plants from them. And once again, just a reminder that you can use code NICK2023 to save 15% on planthaventoronto.com. Thank you again for joining me today. If you don't already, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at phillyfoliage. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day.